Alright, so you guys know the drill by now. We've done the best weapons in Chapter 3. Now it is time for the worst weapons in the entirety of Chapter 3. In my opinion, Chapter 3 was a pretty rough chapter, and with that came a decent amount of rough weapons. If you guys go on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like and use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop. With all that being said, let's just get right into this. Alright, and of course, we are going to be going chronologically through the season. So of course, first up is Chapter 3 Season 1. And while I think Chapter 3 Season 1 was the best season of this entire chapter, I think it had some of the worst weapons. One of those weapons being the Ranger Assault Rifle. And I'll be entirely honest with you guys, I was close to putting the Hammer Assault Rifle. People love the Hammer AR. I hate the Hammer AR, but I can acknowledge it's like somewhat decent, and this video would probably go up in flames if I put the Hammer AR on here. But let's be real, I mean, everybody basically took the Striker or Hammer AR over the Ranger Assault Rifle. And you guys know I don't like the Nemesis, and to be honest with you, the Nemesis just felt like a reskinned version of this weapon, the Ranger. It was supposed to be your like accurate, slow fire rate, but heavy hitting assault rifle, but we've already seen those before, right? Like for example, the heavy assault rifle, the AK. If you're going to try and remake that, just bring back the AK, right? I actually do think that this is a weapon that would benefit so much from weapon mods. I think it would be interesting to see it come back at some point in Chapter 5, be able to put a scope, maybe a suppressor on this thing. I could actually see it being really good because it is incredibly accurate. The handling is basically the only thing it's got going for it. In terms of all assault rifles in Chapter 3, I think the Ranger falls all the way to the bottom, and that's why it gets put on this list. Also, like, what a forgettable weapon. I honestly kind of forgot it existed. And I guess since we are talking about forgettable weapons, how about the Machine SMG from Chapter 3 Season 1? I totally forgot this thing ever was in this season. And I honestly think that's because the Stinger SMG at this time was the dominant SMG. There was no way you were going to take anything over the Stinger. So to be honest with you, it's not necessarily this weapon's fault, right? The Stinger was just so good, you didn't have a choice but to take it. And what a weird history this weapon has. Some of you newer players might actually recognize this from Chapter 4 Season 1, where of course it was again a weak SMG. Everybody took the twin mag over it. So tough luck of the draw for the Machine SMG. It was actually accidentally released all the way back in Chapter 1 Season X, and then again in Chapter 2 Season 5, and then again in Chapter 2 Season 8. I'm not kidding. You guys can go on the Fortnite wiki, look up Machine SMG, and you can see it was added by accident all those times. I have no idea why, and honestly, maybe they were just trying to give us a warning like, hey, this thing is going to be really bad before we release it, because it really was. They've tried to rework it like multiple times, of course, in Chapter 4 Season 1, but even when it was added in Chapter 3 Season 1, they changed the fire rate from 14 to 15, then changed it from 15 to 13.5. Like, it just seems like the balancing was all over the place with this weapon, but honestly, I don't even know why they tried. Nothing was going to go up against the Stinger SMG. And yeah, that's all I've got for Chapter 3 Season 1, so let's move on to Chapter 3 Season 2. And I don't really have a ton for this season, except for the Anvil Launcher. I'm sure if any of you guys watched some of my recent videos, I've talked about the Anvil Launcher multiple times, so I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. It is just a bad launcher, right? There is no reason to ever take this. Maybe, I guess, in Chapter 3 Season 2 to get up to take down the tanks, but that's the only time I can ever imagine this thing being useful. It ranked really, really badly on the list when I ranked every single launcher, and there should be no surprises there. I still, to this day, cannot believe they didn't bring it back in Chapter 5 Season 3. What a tragedy. And yeah, that's it for Chapter 3 Season 2, so on to Season 3. And this is probably where the bulk of this video is going to be. I love Chapter 3 Season 3, but there were a couple weapons that stood out as being pretty bad. And one of those weapons is the Charge SMG. If you guys watch my video where I went over the best weapons of Chapter 3, you'll know that the Combat SMG was in that video. A little spoiler there. And what I mentioned in that video is it actually says on the Fortnite wiki, like the official Fortnite patch notes, the Combat SMG has been removed to make room for the Charge SMG. And we lost one of the best SMGs of all time and got, truthfully, one of the worst SMGs of all time. And it's weird because, like, I really see the vision here. I like them getting creative. I will never knock them for coming out with unique items, right? I just don't think the charge mechanic works really for submachine guns. We've seen it for so many different weapon types, like explosive weapons, right? With the plasma cannon, you had to charge that up. We saw it probably most prevalent with the charge shotgun. I just think it works best for like one-shot weapons, right? Again, just like the charge shotgun, but something like this where you have to charge up each individual bullet, I think they just missed the mark with this one. Although, here's what I'll say about it. If you do know how to use it, and you can use it in the one situation where it works best, it has like the highest DPS out of any weapon ever. Like, here's what I'm talking about. Like, if you go into a build fight with the Charge SMG, that is a disaster waiting to happen, you're not going to win the fight, right? Because a lot of people will shoot the shotgun and then switch to your SMG. But it doesn't work like that with the charge SMG. With the charge SMG, it's the other way around. You shoot the SMG first and then you finish them off with the shotgun. So if you are able to like spray into somebody's box, right? Not in a build fight or anything. Let's just say they're in a 1x1, spray into their box, lands like 5, 6, 7 bullets, and then finish them off with a shotgun shot, you're going to do really well. That's how you use this thing. Again, like I said, I do see the vision here. I just don't think it was executed right. And for me, yeah, I was never touching this thing in chapter 3. But another weapon introduced in this season that people seem to love for some reason, it's the 2-shot shotgun. Again, there's always like a little group of people in my comment sections that love this weapon. I don't understand. And what else I don't understand is Fortnite's obsession with 2-round burst shotguns. If you'll remember, the primal shotgun is also a 2-round burst shotgun, and it was also garbage. This weapon, it just doesn't work out for me. I'm not a fan of like the gimmicky shotguns at all. Like your kind of dragon breath shotgun, the dub, the charge shotgun, the 2-shot shotgun. I just don't like those weapons. I am at the core a pump and tack shotgun guy. I have no problem messing around with other classes, but once it comes to shotguns, I am pretty strict in what type of weapons I like to take, and I know a lot of other people are. Look, like, can this thing be decent? Yes, I think it can be okay if you're in close proximity, literally right in front of somebody, and you're able to land both shots back to back. Yeah, I mean, look, that's basically a 160, 170 right there. But like 90% of the time, and you'll see it in the gameplay here, you're only going to hit 1 out of 2 shots, and that 1 shot hits for like 40 or 50, it feels like. Again, I won't knock them for being creative, but I will knock them for the weapon not being up to par with the rest of the season, especially when the prime shotgun was here. 10 out of 10 times prime shotgun better than the 2-shot. And honestly, guys, I can't believe I have to waste the precious minutes in this video talking about the Ripsaw launcher again from chapter 3 season 3. I don't know why this even is a thing. In case you don't know, it is literally just a launcher that shoots saws out of it. It was only in chapter 3 season 3, then got banished to the vault, hopefully to stay there forever. It just sucks. I mean, I don't know what else to say. My only like comp to this is like, this is like the recycler of chapter 3. Recycler meaning, of course, the weapon from chapter 2 season 6. It's just a nightmare of a weapon. I'll probably use the gameplay from the video that I'm thinking about right now. It was typical gamer trying to win a game using only Ripsaw launchers. The guy was literally like torturing himself. In the video, he's like, this is the worst weapon I've ever used. And I would actually probably agree with him. I think this has to be up there for bottom 5, bottom 10 weapons in Fortnite history. But all right, enough of dogging on chapter 3 season 3. Let's move on to chapter 3 season 4, which for all intents and purposes was a pretty polarizing season, I would say. I feel like half the people loved chapter 3 season 4 and half the people hated it. And let's just talk about the Cobra DMR. Just like a lot of the other weapons on this list, I actually do see the vision here, right? And I briefly talked about the thermal DMR a couple videos ago, and what I said for that DMR stands true for what I think about the Cobra DMR. DMRs are just really never going to be in the meta. They're just like a really weird weapon type, right? A lot of times, if you're going to go long range, you're going to want to use a sniper. If you're going to want to go mid range, most of the time, your regular assault rifles will do. But with the faster fire rate, the Cobra kind of leaned more towards like a faster fire rate assault rifle for those mid to long range engagements in comparison to something like, again, like the regular DMR, which would probably be more like a sniper with a slower fire rate and higher damage, of course. But the thing that just bothered me about the Cobra DMR is I actually felt like the regular DMR that was introduced in chapter 3 was better than this thing. So in the same chapter, we had a DMR that was introduced that was good, and then they introduced one that was worse, which was the Cobra. Again, I feel like this is another one of those weapons where if you're good with it, yes, you can run some lobbies, you can do some good work with it, especially with a pretty weak assault rifle meta throughout chapter 3. But again, this was another one of those weapons, when I saw it on the ground, I was leaving it there. I just wasn't taking it. And for the final weapon of this video, it's not really a weapon, I guess. It's technically an item. That's the Howler Claws. And man, now that I'm looking down the list of chapter 3 items, wow, there are a lot of completely forgettable items in this chapter. And the Howler Claws are absolutely on that list. I mean, the fact that these were a mythic item is absolutely diabolical. Like, I don't understand why mythic rarity is the rarity that it is, because half of the mythics are just absolutely terrible. Like, you could have made this thing a common item and I still wouldn't have taken it. I get that it was like a mythic because there was only one on the map. I understand that. And these were introduced with Fortnitemares, which makes sense. But if you guys are familiar with really any other melee weapon, kind of like Wolverine's claws from chapter 2 season 4, these function basically the same. Howler Claws will do like 35 damage every time you swung and hit somebody, and then you have like a recon ability which you could use every 20 seconds seconds, and currently chapter 5 season 4, you know, Emma Frost medallion has like that pinging ability. It's the same thing. Look, I'm just not a fan of melee items. I never have been in really any video game, and that stands true for Fortnite. But I guess a structure damage of 150, that's enough to one-shot wood walls. So I guess if someone's building out of wood, if you pull out the Howler Claws, you could do some good work. But I'll be honest with you guys, the Howler Claws are just not it. They are definitely one of the worst weapons of the entire chapter. Well, alright guys, that was the worst weapons of all of Chapter 3. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about this video. Are there any items that you expected to be on here that weren't? Or do you think that any of the items that I listed in today's video shouldn't be on here? But with the completion of this video brings the end of Chapter 3 and into Chapter 2. So if you guys are excited for Chapter 2 and revisiting some of the best and worst weapons from that entire chapter, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed because those videos will be coming shortly and you want to be the first ones there. With all that being said, if you went on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.